I'm not sure where to start. My name is Jake and I've been married to Rebecca for 5 years. We met in college and I thought we had the perfect relationship. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but I always believed we were solid. So solid that when I first caught wind of something off, I brushed it aside. The first sign was small, just a change in her routine. Rebecca is a social butterfly, but this was different. She started going out more often, claiming it was for girls' nights. At first, I didn't mind. I encouraged her to spend time with her friends. It's healthy, right? But then the little things started to stack up. She'd come home later and later, and each time she had a half-baked excuse ready. Sorry, babe, we went out for drinks after dinner. Or I lost track of time and the girls wanted to hit up that new bar. I tried to trust her. I really did. But the nagging feeling in the back of my mind wouldn't go away. It was like an itch I couldn't scratch. I noticed how she began to dress differently when she went out, shorter skirts, tighter tops. She tell me that she was just trying to feel good about herself. And she was right, but it felt like there was more to it than that. And then there was the phone. Oh, the phone. Rebecca had always been pretty open with her phone. We shared passwords and had no secrets. But lately she had become protective of it. When I'd walk in the room, she'd quickly lock it or turn it face down. That's when I knew something was up. It was that gut feeling that you just can't shake. I thought about confronting her, but what would I even say? I didn't have any solid proof, just suspicions. One Thursday evening, I arrived home early from work. I was excited to surprise her with dinner, something I hadn't done in a while due to my long hours. As I walked into our apartment, I noticed the living room was empty. The TV was on, but she wasn't there. I checked the kitchen, nothing. I figured she must have gone out with her friends, so I started cooking. As I was chopping vegetables, I heard a notification sound from her phone on the counter. It was a message. I shouldn't have looked, I really shouldn't have, but curiosity got the better of me. I picked up the phone and it was from a number I didn't recognize. I opened the message and my heart dropped. Can't wait to see you tonight, babe. I'll be waiting for you at the game. Just like that, the air left my lungs. I felt a mix of anger and betrayal boiling in my chest. I couldn't believe what I was reading. A game. Why was she texting some stranger like this? I set the phone down, my hands shaking. I replayed the message in my mind over and over again. Babe, who the hell was she calling babe? I had to find out. When Rebecca finally came home, I could see she was slightly flustered. She had that look on her face, the one that said she knew something was off. I confronted her, trying to stay calm, but it wasn't working. Who's this guy? What game are you talking about? The look on her face was priceless. She stammered, trying to come up with a plausible excuse. Oh, that was just a friend. From work, she said, her voice shaky. We were talking about a game we might go to, nothing more. Classic Rebecca, always the smooth talker, but I could see the cracks in her facade. I pressed her further and she just kept digging herself deeper. We're just friends, you know how I am with people. I can't just cut everyone off because you're paranoid. That's when I really lost it. The betrayal hit hard. I wasn't paranoid, I was being blindsided. I thought we had built a life together, but here she was, lying straight to my face. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. I needed to approach this differently. I wanted to know the truth, not some half-hearted excuse. So I told her I saw the messages. Rebecca, don't lie to me. Her face went pale, and for a moment I thought she might actually confess. But then she shifted back into defense mode. I swear, Jake, it's nothing, you're overreacting. She looked away, unable to meet my eyes. That's when I felt a rush of anger and disappointment wash over me. This wasn't just about a text, it was about trust. I didn't know what to do next. I felt lost, heartbroken, and ready to explode all at once. I needed to figure out how I was going to handle this. What was I going to do about our marriage? Would I confront her again? Would I fight for this relationship? I was spiraling, but one thing was clear. I wasn't going to let her betrayal define me. I would find a way to make this right for myself, even if I didn't know what that meant just yet. After that explosive confrontation, my mind was racing. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I kept replaying the conversation over and over, dissecting each word, each expression on Rebecca's face. She had been lying to me, and now I was left with this heavy weight in my chest. I had thought our relationship was built on trust, but it felt like a house of cards that had collapsed in an instant. The next morning, I woke up early, determined to get my head straight. I needed to figure out how to handle this situation. I brewed a pot of coffee and sat at the kitchen table, staring blankly at the wall. I knew I couldn't just ignore what was happening. I had to do something. I decided to take some time off work. I needed space to think. I called my boss and explained I had a personal matter to deal with. He was understanding, but I could hear the concern in his voice. I wasn't the type to take time off on a whim. I didn't want to admit to anyone what was going on, especially to my friends. I could already hear their responses. Dude, you need to confront her. Or you're better than this, you deserve respect. But deep down, I didn't want to hear any of it. I didn't want their pity, nor did I want them to think I was weak. I spent the day distracted, going through the motions of what I normally did. I hit the gym, needing to blow off steam. Exercise had always been my outlet, but even then I couldn't focus. I threw weights around more aggressively than usual, imagining each lift was a punch thrown against the betrayal. I felt stronger physically, but emotionally I was falling apart. When I finally got home, Rebecca was there, sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I walked in, and I could see the panic in her eyes. "Hey, you're home early," she said, her voice too cheerful, almost forced. "Yeah," I replied, trying to sound casual, but I knew she could hear the tension in my tone. "I took the day off." She put her phone down and looked at me with concern. "Everything okay?" I didn't answer right away. I was still wrestling with a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, confusion. I wanted to confront her again, to demand answers, but the words caught in my throat. I found myself just staring at her. Finally, I mustered up the courage. "No, everything's not okay, Rebecca. I need to know what's really going on. Who is this guy?" Her expression shifted instantly, and I could see her defenses go up again. "I told you, Jake, it's just a friend from work. You're blowing this out of proportion." I shook my head, feeling frustration boil up again. "No, I'm not. You're the one who's lying to me. I saw the texts." "Jake, please stop. You're making this worse." "Worse? You think this is worse? I found out my wife is cheating on me, and you think I'm the one making it worse." The anger was spilling out now, and I couldn't hold back. She stood up, packing around the living room. "I'm not cheating on you. You're being irrational." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She wasn't even going to admit it. I felt a wave of sadness crash over me. "We can't move forward if you can't be honest with me. I need to know the truth." Her eyes softened for a moment, and I thought maybe, just maybe, she would confess, but she just shook her head. "I can't do this right now." And just like that, she retreated back to her phone, as if I hadn't just poured my heart out to her. I stood there, feeling like an idiot. My heart was racing, but not in the way I wanted. I felt trapped, like I was in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Days turned into a blur. I tried to keep my distance from Rebecca. I felt like I was walking on eggshells around her, and every interaction was strained. I started to notice other things: her late-night phone calls, the way she'd suddenly jump to put her phone down when I entered the room, her excuses becoming more elaborate. Each little thing just added to the bitterness and resentment swirling inside me. I decided it was time to gather evidence. I wasn't going to let her keep lying to me. I started going through her things when she wasn't home. I hated myself for it, but I felt like I had no other choice. I rifled through drawers, looking for receipts or anything that could give me a clue. I felt like a detective in a cheap crime movie. One evening, while she was out with her friends, I decided to check her email. I had her password. It was the same as her social media accounts. I opened it up and felt my heart race as I scrolled through her inbox. That's when I found an email that made my stomach drop. It was an invitation to a private event, a charity gala hosted by some famous athlete. And the RSVP, it was from Rebecca. I couldn't believe it. I was sick to my stomach. A charity gala with an athlete. That had to be the game she was texting about. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a friendship. I felt a surge of determination mixed with anger. I would confront her again, but this time I would have proof. She couldn't wriggle her way out of this one. As I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the email, I made a decision. I was going to confront her in a way that she'd never see coming. I wasn't going to be the victim here. I was going to take control of my life. I just had to figure out how to make that happen. It was time to plan my move. I spent the next few days strategizing. I felt like I was preparing for a battle. I had the evidence: an email invitation to a gala with an athlete, and I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was more than just a casual friendship. I needed to confront Rebecca, but this time I had to do it on my terms. I wasn't going to be the passive husband anymore. I was reclaiming my power. The day of the gala arrived, and I felt a mix of dread and anticipation. I knew she would be getting ready to go out, and I wanted to catch her off guard. I had decided to confront her right before she left, and I wanted to make sure I had everything laid out perfectly. That evening, I paced around the apartment, waiting for her to get home from work. I had already put on a pair of nice clothes, hoping to look sharp and composed. I wanted to show her that I could still be the man she fell in love with, even if she was trying to throw that away. When she finally walked in, I could see she was dressed to impress. She had on a sleek black dress that hugged her curves, and her hair was perfectly styled. I was taken aback for a moment. She looked stunning. But then that feeling of betrayal washed over me again. She was getting ready to go out, probably to meet this athlete. I steeled myself. "Hey, babe," she said, giving me a bright smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Are you ready for dinner?" I crossed my arms, trying to remain calm. "Actually, I think we need to talk." Her smile faltered, and she looked at me with uncertainty. "Talk? About what?" "About the gala you're going to tonight." She froze for a split second, and I could see the wheels turning in her head. "Oh, it's just a charity event. You know I love helping out with those." "Is that all it is, Rebecca? Because I found the invitation in your email, and it was addressed to you and a +1. I stepped closer, allowing my words to hang in the air. "Who's the +1, Rebecca? Is it the friend from work?" Her expression shifted from confusion to panic, and I could almost see the gears turning in her head. "Jake, please, you're misinterpreting this. It's not what you think." "Not what I think." I couldn't keep the incredulity out of my voice. "You're lying to me about who you're seeing, and then you're going to a gala with him. How am I supposed to believe anything you say?" "Stop it." She snapped, and for a brief moment I saw her true frustration. "You're being ridiculous. You're making a big deal out of nothing." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. "You see, that's the problem. You keep saying it's nothing, but every time you go out with friends, you come home later and later. You're not the woman I married, Rebecca. You're hiding something, and I deserve to know what it is." She looked at me, her eyes wide with betrayal and anger. "You think you deserve to know everything. You think you can just poke around my life and invade my privacy. You're being insane." "I'm being insane," I shot back, feeling the heat rising in my cheeks. "You're the one who's cheating on your husband. You're the one lying to my face. I don't care if you think it's an invasion. This is my life too." Rebecca took a step back, her posture changing. She was no longer the confident woman I had known. Now she looked vulnerable. "I didn't want to hurt you, Jake. I was trying to figure things out." "Figure what out?" I demanded. "You've been seeing someone else. That's not something you just figure out on the side." She hesitated, and for a moment I thought she might finally crack. "I thought we were in a rough patch, and I wanted to feel good about myself again." "By cheating on your husband, that's your idea of feeling better." The silence that followed was deafening. I could see the reality of the situation settling in on her. "It was just supposed to be a fling, something to make me feel alive again," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "I didn't think it would go this far." "Go this far?" I echoed, disbelief flooding my veins. "You didn't think about how it would affect me, or us? Do you even care?" Tears filled her eyes, and I felt a pang of sympathy, but I couldn't let it sway me. "I do care, Jake, I do. I don't want to lose you," but I was so focused on my own feelings that I didn't realize how much I was hurting you. "Then why didn't you talk to me?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. "We could have worked through this together. But instead, you chose to betray me." "I was scared," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "I thought I could find myself again by being with someone else." As she spoke, I felt a mix of anger and pity. I didn't want to hear excuses anymore. It was time for me to take a stand. "This isn't about you finding yourself," I said firmly. "This is about you destroying what we built together. I don't know if I can forgive you for this." Her face fell, and I could see the reality of her situation hitting her. "Jake, please. I'll do anything to make this right. Just give me a chance." But I wasn't in a place to give second chances, not yet. "You've already made your choice, Rebecca," I said, my voice steady. "Now I have to make mine." With that, I turned away from her, my heart pounding in my chest. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, but it was also replaced with the aching uncertainty of what came next. I was done being the victim. I was going to take charge of my future, whatever that looked like. I just needed to figure out how to break free from this web of lies and reclaim my life. After that confrontation, I felt a mix of relief and confusion. I'd put my feelings on the line, and though I didn't have all the answers, I knew I had taken a stand. Rebecca was still in the apartment, and I could hear her muffled sobs in the other room. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to tell her that everything would be okay, but I knew that wouldn't be honest. I was still reeling from the betrayal, and I needed time to think about what my next steps would be. I took a few days to clear my head. I spent time at the gym, running off the adrenaline from the confrontation. I lifted weights harder than I ever had, pushing myself to the limit. With each rep, I felt more in control of my body, and with that came a sense of empowerment. I was reclaiming my strength, not just physically but emotionally too. I realized I had neglected myself while trying to hold onto a failing marriage. I also started to reevaluate everything I thought I knew about our relationship. Maybe I had ignored the signs for too long, believing that love was enough to keep us together. But now, with the reality of her infidelity staring me in the face, I had to consider if love alone could mend the chasm that had formed between us. One night, I decided to sit down with Rebecca. I felt it was time to talk about our future, or lack thereof. I found her sitting on the couch, still looking fragile. She glanced up at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of regret and hope. "Jake," she said softly, "can we please talk? I know I messed up, but I want to fix this." I took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. "I'm not sure what can be fixed, Rebecca. You made choices that hurt me deeply. You can't just expect everything to go back to normal after what you did." "I know," she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I was stupid. I thought I was escaping a rut, but I only made things worse. I want to work on us. I can change, I swear." Every part of me wanted to believe her, but another part of me was screaming to run far away. "What does working on us even look like? You went behind my back. How can I trust you again?" She nodded, her expression earnest. "I'll do whatever it takes. I'll go to therapy. We can go together. I'll cut him out of my life, I promise." I wanted to scream that it was too late, that the damage was done, but I held back. "It's not that simple. I need time to think. This isn't just about you saying sorry and expecting me to forgive you." She pleaded with me. "I know I don't deserve it, but please don't give up on us. I love you." That word hung in the air, heavy and complicated. Did she love me? Or was it just fear of losing the comfortable life we had built together? I couldn't tell if her love was genuine or just a response to the chaos she had created. "I need to think about what I want," I said finally. "I need clarity on whether I can ever forgive you for what you did." And with that, I walked away. I needed space, and I wasn't ready for her to put a band-aid on the gaping wound she had inflicted. I spent the next few days in solitude, trying to figure out my feelings while distancing myself from her. But during that time, I also took a hard look at myself. I realized that while I had been trying to hold onto a marriage that was slipping through my fingers, I had neglected my own needs. I started to focus on self-improvement, not just physically but mentally and emotionally. I began reading self-help books, diving into topics like self-worth and resilience. I started meditating, trying to find peace amidst the chaos. I also began a new workout routine, hitting the gym at odd hours to avoid running into Rebecca. And then, one day, it hit me. I needed to change my life entirely. I wasn't just going to sit around and wait for things to improve. I wanted to be in the best shape of my life, not just to impress Rebecca or anyone else but for myself. I signed up for a personal trainer and committed to a rigorous diet. I wanted to feel good in my skin again, to reclaim the energy and confidence that had slowly ebbed away over the last few years. As the weeks passed, I noticed a shift in my perspective. I was feeling stronger both physically and mentally. I started to embrace the idea of being single again. I didn't want to be defined by this heartbreak. I wanted to emerge from this stronger than ever before. I even began to dabble in dating apps, testing the waters and seeing what was out there. Meanwhile, Rebecca had been reaching out, trying to reconnect. I received texts asking how my day was, reminders of her love, and even apologies that seemed heartfelt. but each time I read them I felt more resolved to move forward without her. One night I returned home from the gym, feeling pumped after a solid workout. Rebecca was waiting for me, her eyes lit up with hope. "I'm so proud of you, Jake. You look amazing." "Thanks," I said, trying to stay neutral. "I've been focusing on myself." "I can see that," she replied, her voice softening. "I want to support you in any way I can. I really want to change." "I appreciate that," I said, choosing my words carefully, "but I also need to be honest. I'm not sure I can forgive you right now." Her face fell and I could see the disappointment wash over her. "I understand, but please know that I'm trying. I just want a chance." "Maybe you need to take a step back and let me find my own path first," I suggested. "I have to think about what's best for me." She nodded slowly, tears welling in her eyes. "I just wish things were different." "I do too," I replied. "But we can't change the past." After that, our interactions became more distant. I spent more time away from home, focusing on my training and my newfound sense of independence. I felt liberated, almost like I was breaking free from chains I had never realized were there. But as I dove deeper into this new phase of my life, I couldn't shake the thought that I had to confront my feelings about Rebecca once and for all. I was no longer just reacting. I was ready to make a decisive move. I was done lingering in uncertainty. It was time to figure out what I truly wanted, without the noise of past betrayals clouding my judgment. I was ready to take a leap into the unknown, ready for whatever came next. As I continued to regain my footing, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. I had spent so long trying to salvage a marriage that was crumbling beneath my feet, but now I was beginning to see the world through a different lens. I was more than just a husband. I was Jake, a man who could redefine himself and his future. But I still had to confront the lingering question. What did I want with Rebecca? Part of me wanted to forgive her, to patch things up and move forward together, but another part of me whispered that I deserved better. I needed to make a decision, and soon. One evening, I returned home later than usual from the gym, feeling exhilarated after a grueling workout. As I walked in, I saw Rebecca sitting on the couch, her expression a mixture of anxiety and hope. She looked beautiful, a stark contrast to the chaos that had surrounded us, and I felt a pang of nostalgia for the way things used to be. "Jake, can we talk?" she asked, her voice tentative. I nodded, bracing myself for what was likely going to be a heavy conversation. I took a seat across from her, trying to maintain a neutral expression, though I could feel the tension in the air. "I know things have been tough between us," she started, her voice quivering slightly. "I've been doing a lot of thinking and I realize how much I hurt you. I want to make things right." I took a deep breath, weighing my words carefully. "I appreciate that, Rebecca, but I need to be honest. I've been on a journey of my own these past few weeks and I'm not sure I can just flip a switch and go back to how things were." She nodded, visibly anxious. "I understand, but I'm committed to changing. I'll go to therapy, I'll do whatever it takes to show you I can be the wife you deserve." "Therapy is a good start," I acknowledged, "but I think we need to really take a step back. I can't just forget what happened. It's going to take time for me to process everything. I'm still reeling from the betrayal." "Jake, I don't expect you to forgive and forget. I just want a chance to prove to you that I'm worth another shot," she pleaded, her eyes searching mine for any glimmer of hope. I couldn't help but feel a mix of pity and frustration. "Rebecca, this isn't just about you proving yourself. It's about me figuring out what I want. I've spent so much time trying to hold on to this relationship, but I need to prioritize myself now." Her face fell and I could see the realization hit her. "Are you saying you want to separate?" I hesitated, the weight of my decision heavy on my shoulders. "I don't know if separation is the answer, but I do think we need space. I need to discover who I am outside of this marriage, and you need to focus on your own growth as well." Silence enveloped us, with only the sound of our breathing breaking the tension. I could see the hurt in her eyes, but I also saw a flicker of understanding. It was a hard truth, but I was tired of the charade. I needed to be true to myself. "Okay," she said finally, her voice cracking. "I understand, I don't want to lose you, but I'll respect your decision." As she spoke, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. It was the first time in a long time that I had been honest about my feelings. "I think it's the healthiest option for both of us right now. I want us to have the opportunity to heal, whether that means coming back together or going our separate ways for good." Rebecca nodded, wiping tears from her cheeks. "I just hope that someday we can find our way back to each other." I felt a pang in my chest at her words, but I masked it with resolve. "I hope so too, but I can't count on that anymore. I need to focus on moving forward." With that, we ended the conversation. I could see her heartbroken expression, but I also noticed something else: acceptance. This was a pivotal moment for both of us, and I felt a strange sense of empowerment. I was taking control of my life, and while it was painful, it was also liberating. Over the next few weeks, I immersed myself in self-improvement. With each passing day, I felt stronger and more confident. I was getting into the best shape of my life, physically and emotionally. I was finally carving out a new identity for myself, one that didn't revolve around the pain of betrayal. I also started to explore the dating scene. I had hesitated at first, unsure if I was ready, but I wanted to see what was out there. I began matching with women on dating apps, cautiously swiping right and engaging in conversations. It felt exhilarating and terrifying all at once. Each interaction was a reminder that I still had so much to offer. One evening, I had a date lined up with a woman named Sarah. She was vibrant and funny, and our conversations flowed effortlessly. We met at a local coffee shop, and I found myself laughing and enjoying her company in a way I hadn't in a long time. I realized that I hadn't been truly happy in a while, and this felt refreshing. As I got to know Sarah, I found myself reflecting on my past with Rebecca. I couldn't deny the good times we'd had, but I also recognized how much I had compromised my own happiness. With Sarah, I felt free to be myself, and it was invigorating. A few weeks into dating Sarah, I decided to reach out to Rebecca. I wanted to check on her, not out of obligation, but because I genuinely cared about her well-being. I was curious to see how she was doing since our separation, and whether she had started to take steps towards her own healing. When we met for coffee, it was a different atmosphere than before. There was a sense of calmness between us, perhaps because we had both accepted our circumstances. While the conversation was bittersweet, I could see that she was making an effort to work on herself. She talked about going to therapy and how she had been focusing on her personal growth. "I want to be a better person, Jake," she said. "I truly regret how I hurt you, and I'm trying to learn from it." "I appreciate that," I replied, feeling a mix of sadness and hope. "I want you to succeed in finding happiness, whether it's with me or someone else." We left that meeting with a sense of closure. I realized that even though we had hurt each other, we still had the capacity to care and wish each other well. It was a strange sense of freedom, knowing that I could move on without harboring resentment. But I also knew that my journey with Sarah was just beginning. I was excited about the potential of what could grow from that relationship, but I was also wary. I didn't want to rush things or bring unresolved issues into this new chapter of my life. The experience of confronting my past and focusing on my personal growth had been transformative. I was no longer the man who clung to a failing marriage out of fear and obligation. I was Jake, a man ready to embrace new opportunities and redefine his future, whatever that might entail. As I continued to navigate this new life, I felt an overwhelming sense of hope for what was to come. I was ready to embrace life on my own terms. As I settled into my new routine, the changes in my life began to solidify. I was no longer defined by my past. Instead, I was crafting a future that felt bright and full of potential. With each passing week, I was discovering more about myself and what I wanted from life, both personally and romantically. Dating Sarah was refreshing. She was spontaneous, adventurous, and had an infectious energy about her. Our adventures ranged from hiking in the nearby mountains to trying out new restaurants downtown. With her, I felt a sense of joy I hadn't experienced in years. She made me laugh, encouraged me to push my limits, and helped me see the beauty in the present moment. One Saturday afternoon, we decided to go on a little road trip. As we drove through winding roads and picturesque landscapes, I found myself reflecting on how far I'd come since my separation from Rebecca. I was in a healthier place, both mentally and physically, and it felt incredible to be doing something purely for my own happiness. As we pulled up to a scenic overlook, Sarah turned to me, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Let's take a picture," she exclaimed, and I couldn't help but smile at her enthusiasm. We jumped out of the car, and as I looked out over the horizon, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. This was my life now, an open canvas filled with possibilities. After snapping a few photos, we sat on the hood of my car, enjoying the warm sun and each other's company. "What's been the best part of this journey for you?" Sarah asked, tilting her head curiously. I took a moment to think. Honestly, I think it was realizing that I can stand on my own 2 feet. I spent so long trying to make my marriage work, and I lost sight of who I was. This journey has been about rediscovering myself. She nodded, her expression thoughtful. "That's really inspiring, Jake. I think we all go through those moments when we have to figure out who we are outside of our relationships. I've learned that it's okay to prioritize myself and what I want," I said, feeling a surge of confidence. It's been liberating to step away from what wasn't working and embrace new opportunities. As we talked, I felt grateful for the lessons I had learned through the heartbreak with Rebecca. While it had been painful, it had also pushed me toward growth and understanding. I realized that my value wasn't tied to my past or anyone else's choices. I was learning to love myself and embrace my journey. A few weeks later, I decided to invite Sarah to a small gathering with some of my close friends. I wanted her to meet them and feel more integrated into my life. As we mingled at the party, I felt a warmth in my heart that I hadn't felt in a long time. Everyone seemed to hit it off, laughing and sharing stories, and I couldn't help but smile at how natural it felt. I was building something new and it felt right. At one point, I caught Sarah's eye across the room and she gave me a beaming smile. It was a simple moment, but it filled me with a sense of hope and possibility. Amidst the laughter and conversations, I felt a sense of gratitude for where I was and where I was headed. I had taken control of my life, and it was paying off. I had learned to value myself and not settle for less than I deserved. It was a lesson I would carry with me as I continued to navigate my journey. As the night progressed, I found a quiet moment with Sarah on the balcony. The stars twinkled above us and I felt at peace. "I really appreciate you being here tonight," I said, leaning against the railing. "It means a lot to me." "I'm glad to be here," she replied softly, leaning closer. "I love spending time with you, Jake. You make me so happy." I met her gaze, feeling a spark between us. "You make me happy too, Sarah. I've realized that I don't want to rush things, but I also see a future with you." Her eyes lit up, and in that moment I knew I was ready to take a leap of faith. I leaned in and kissed her, feeling a warmth spread through me. It was different from anything I had experienced before, genuine and filled with promise. As we pulled apart, I felt a sense of excitement for what lay ahead. I knew there would still be challenges, but I was ready to face them head-on. I had learned the importance of self-love and resilience, and with that knowledge, I knew I could tackle whatever life threw my way. In the days that followed, I focused on building my relationship with Sarah while continuing to prioritize my personal growth. I even started volunteering at a local charity, something I had always wanted to do. I wanted to give back, to help others while also finding fulfillment in my own life. As time passed, I felt more grounded than ever. I had let go of the pain from my past while cherishing the lessons it taught me. I was no longer defined by my experiences, but rather shaped by how I had chosen to respond to them. One afternoon, I received a text from Rebecca. It was a simple message, just checking in. I took a moment to reflect. Part of me felt a sense of nostalgia, but mostly I felt gratitude for the closure I'd found. I replied politely, wishing her well and expressing hope that she was doing okay. As I set my phone down, I realized that I was finally free. Free from the hurt, the anger, and the bitterness. I had moved forward, and in doing so, I had opened the door to new opportunities and experiences. I was ready for whatever came next, unafraid of the unknown and excited for the future. Life was no longer a series of disappointments. It was filled with potential, and I was determined to embrace it fully. I was Jake, stronger, wiser, and ready to face the world on my own terms.